You already know why you're here. Something in your life feels off. Maybe you're tired of waking up every day feeling like a watered-down version of yourself. Maybe you've built a life that looks fine on the outside but feels hollow as hell from the inside. Or maybe you're finally sick of your own excuses. And that's good, because nothing changes until you get brutally honest with yourself. This isn't one of those soft, fluffy, "you're perfect, just the way you are" stories. You're not here for comfort. You're here for clarity, for change, for a version of yourself you can finally respect. This audiobook is your mirror, your wake-up call, your shove forward. Not because you need motivation, but because you need direction, discipline, and the truth, delivered without the sugarcoating. So take a breath. This is the start of you stopping the bullshit and becoming the person you claim you want to be. Chapter 1. The moment you stop lying to yourself. Change doesn't start with a planner, a vision board, or some dramatic new chapter announcement. It starts in a much quieter, much more uncomfortable place. The moment you stop lying to yourself, and let's be real, you've been lying for a long time, probably without even noticing. Not because you're weak or lazy, but because avoiding the truth is the easiest way to stay comfortable. The truth asks for effort, responsibility, and action. Lies let you stay exactly where you are. Look at your life right now. Your habits, your results, your routines, your frustrations. None of them fell out of the sky. You didn't randomly end up here. You arrived at this version of yourself through thousands of small choices, many of which you didn't question. Maybe you tolerated behaviors you shouldn't have. Maybe you avoided decisions that scared you. Maybe you convinced yourself you would fix it later. Or maybe you told yourself that life was just happening to you and you had no control over any of it. But deep down, you know that's not true. You've known it for a while. Every time you felt a quiet discomfort in your chest, every time you caught yourself procrastinating, every time you avoided a problem instead of handling it, you felt that inner voice calling you out. You ignored it. You drowned it out with excuses. You numbed it with distractions. You lied to yourself because the lie protected you from the responsibility of changing. And yet here you are, listening to this, reading these words, because some part of you knows the truth is unavoidable now. You're tired. Not physically, mentally. You're tired of repeating the same patterns, tired of pretending you're fine, tired of knowing you're capable of more, but not acting on it. And this tension, this discomfort, this quiet frustration you feel, it's not a curse. It's the signal that you're finally ready to stop lying. The moment you call yourself out, really, honestly, ruthlessly call yourself out, your entire perspective shifts. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of unlucky circumstances, and you start seeing yourself as the architect behind your own life. That realization isn't comfortable. In fact, it stings. It forces you to confront the ways you've held yourself back. But it also gives you back your power. When you take ownership, you unlock the ability to change things. Think about how often you've said, "I don't have time." Really, you had time to scroll, binge, avoid, and stay distracted. What you didn't have was honesty. "I don't know where to start." That's not true either. You know exactly what needs fixing. You just didn't want to look at it. "I'm trying my best." Sometimes you were, but other times you weren't trying at all. You were hoping that things would magically get better without you having to change anything. Hope without action is just a comfortable lie wrapped in a pretty word. And here's the harsh truth. Nothing in your life changes until you change. You can read books, listen to advice, watch motivational videos, pray for better opportunities, but if you're still lying to yourself, none of it sticks. You can't build a new life on top of self-deception. You need a solid foundation, and that foundation is honesty. Real honesty is not about hating yourself or tearing yourself down. It's about finally seeing your situation clearly. It's about admitting what you've avoided. It's about acknowledging your patterns, not so you can punish yourself, but so you can correct your direction. Let's be clear, this kind of honesty hurts. It exposes the parts of you that you've tried hardest to hide. It shows you where you've lacked discipline, where you've made excuses, where you've sabotaged yourself. But the pain is temporary, and more importantly, it's clean. It heals instead of festers. The pain of honesty pushes you forward. The pain of lies keeps you stuck. Ask yourself some uncomfortable questions right now. What are you pretending not to know? What habits do you keep defending even though you know they're crippling you? What opportunities did you turn down because you were afraid? Where in your life are you playing small and acting like you have no choice? You don't have to say the answers out loud, but you damn well need to admit them to yourself. Once you do, something powerful happens. You stop waiting. You stop fantasizing. You stop daydreaming about some future version of yourself who magically has their life together. You realize that the person you wish you were isn't going to show up one day. It's someone you have to build through choices, effort, and consistency. Honesty creates clarity. Clarity creates direction. Direction creates momentum. Momentum creates transformation. This is why the first step, not the sexy step, not the inspiring step, but the foundational step, is stopping the lies. You stop telling yourself you're fine when you're not. You stop pretending you're powerless when you've simply been passive. You stop saying someday when you mean never. You stop pretending your life is out of control when really you've just refused to take the wheel. There's a version of you that you respect, a version that stands taller, speaks truthfully, acts decisively, and doesn't hide from responsibility. You can feel that version inside you. It's why you're drawn to change. It's why you're listening right now. It's the part of you that's sick of your own excuses and ready to break the pattern. This chapter is the line in the sand. The moment you choose honesty over comfort. The moment you stop drifting and start driving. The moment you stop being scared of the truth and start using it to build something better. No more lies, not to other people, but more importantly, not to yourself. Once you can look in the mirror and say, "This is where I am and I caused it," you unlock the power to say, "This is where I sit and going, and I sit and create it." That's the beginning of a new you. A version of you that isn't defined by excuses, fear, or denial. A version that is built on honesty, accountability, and action. A version you can finally respect. And the best part? Once you stop lying to yourself, you never want to go back. The freedom is too real. The clarity is too sharp. The power is too addictive. This is where it starts. Right here, with the truth. Chapter 2. Discipline isn't punishment. It sips proof. People love the idea of discipline. They love quoting motivational lines about it. They love imagining themselves as the kind of person who wakes up early, crushes goals, sticks to routines, and lives like a machine of self-control. But when it comes to actually doing the work, showing up consistently, especially on the days when they feel like garbage, most people fold. They treat discipline like a punishment, like a form of suffering only special people can handle. The truth is simpler and far less poetic. Discipline is just the act of proving to yourself that your words aren't empty. It's not glamorous, it's not exciting, it doesn't come with fireworks or applause. It's repetitive, it's boring, and that's exactly why it works. Discipline is the quiet, everyday grind that transforms you behind the scenes, long before anyone else notices. And here's the harsh reality you need to accept: without discipline, your self-respect will always stay low. Why? Because deep down, you know when you're bullshitting yourself. You know when you say, "I'll do it tomorrow," but never do. You know when you promise yourself that you're going to start working out, fix your finances, be more productive, stop procrastinating, and then break that promise again and again. Every broken promise chips away at your self-trust. Every time you say you'll do something and bail, you reinforce the belief that you can't rely on yourself. That's the real damage, not the missed workout, not the skipped task, but the identity you reinforce each time you choose comfort over commitment. Discipline rebuilds that trust. One action at a time, one choice at a time, one boring repetition at a time. Think about your closest relationships. Trust isn't built through big dramatic gestures, it's built through consistency, through showing up, through doing what you said you'd do, even when it's inconvenient. Your relationship with yourself is no different. You don't repair years of inconsistency with one powerful moment. You repair it by stacking small wins. Wins that only discipline can deliver. The problem is, most people confuse discipline with restriction. They think discipline means losing freedom. In reality, the opposite is true. Discipline gives you freedom. Freedom from your impulses, freedom from your fears, freedom from the chaos of reacting to life instead of directing it. Without discipline, you are controlled by whatever emotion hits you in the moment. You live at the mercy of your moods, your cravings, your laziness, your excuses. With discipline, you live by decisions, not feelings, and that's what separates people who build the lives they want from people who simply talk about wanting better lives. Discipline is the bridge between intention and action. It's the mechanism that turns dreams into plans and plans into results. Let's be brutally honest here. You don't lack motivation. You've been motivated hundreds of times. You've had bursts of energy, flashes of inspiration, waves of frustration that made you swear this time would be different. But motivation fades. It always does. It's emotional fuel, and emotions fluctuate. If your entire life strategy is waiting for motivation, you'll live in cycles, starting strong and quitting just as fast. Discipline breaks that cycle. It keeps you moving when motivation vanishes. It keeps you aligned when life gets messy. Discipline is the muscle you rely on when your emotions are being dramatic and unhelpful. And here's another truth. Discipline is not something you're born with. It's trained, developed, strengthened through repetition. You don't become disciplined by reading about it. You become disciplined by choosing it when it's uncomfortable, when it's the last thing you want to do. When your brain is screaming for the easy path, that's where the transformation happens, not when it's easy, but when you force yourself to do it anyway. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll be waiting forever. Discipline begins the moment you stop negotiating with excuses, the moment you stop giving yourself a way out, the moment you decide that your future matters more than your current mood. You're not aiming for perfection. You're aiming for consistency, and consistency doesn't require heroic effort. It requires showing up even at 50%, instead of disappearing because you don't have 100%. Most people fail not because they're incapable, but because they only show up when conditions are perfect. They expect themselves to be unstoppable machines, and when reality hits and they don't feel like doing the work, they immediately label it as failure. That's nonsense. Real discipline is built on doing the minimum when the maximum feels impossible. A 10-minute workout is still better than none. Writing one paragraph is better than writing zero. Cleaning one part of your space is better than doing nothing. These small acts matter because they're signals, proof, evidence. Each one is you telling yourself, I follow through, even when I don't want to. That's the identity you're building, not someone who's perfect, not someone who never slips, but someone who doesn't quit. And that identity, built slowly, quietly, consistently, creates a powerful form of respect. You start seeing yourself differently. You walk with a different energy. You think differently. You make decisions differently. Because instead of hoping you'll follow through, you expect yourself to. Discipline is how you become the kind of person you look up to, not by talking big, not by hyping yourself up, but by showing up again and again until your actions speak louder than your intentions. You can't fake discipline. You either do the work or you don't. And that's why it's the ultimate form of proof. Not for anyone else, but for you. You're the one who has to live with your choices. You're the one who has to face yourself every day. And you're the one who knows whether you did what you said you would. So stop trying to feel disciplined. Start acting disciplined. Start with something small, something specific, something consistent, and then do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. This is how you rebuild your self-respect. This is how you create direction. This is how you become the version of yourself you've been pretending to be. Discipline isn't step punishment. It sits self-respect in action. It sits the proof you've been missing. And it's how the new you is built, one choice at a time. You said, Chapter 3, comfort is the enemy you keep protecting. Comfort feels safe, familiar, warm. It's the place where you don't have to challenge yourself, where you don't have to risk embarrassment, where you don't have to confront any part of your life that makes you uncomfortable. Comfort gives you permission to stay exactly as you are, and that's exactly why it's so dangerous. Most people spend their entire lives protecting their comfort zones, like they're guarding some precious treasure. They avoid anything that feels too hard, too uncertain, too demanding, too tiring. They stick to routines they've outgrown, jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, and habits that weaken them, all because stepping into something unfamiliar feels threatening. They'd rather be mildly miserable than temporarily uncomfortable. But here's the truth. Nothing grows in comfort. Nothing improves in comfort. Nothing meaningful or transformative happens in comfort. Comfort is where potential goes to die. It feels good in the moment, but it quietly destroys your long-term progress. The life you want? It exists outside of your comfort zone. The confidence you want? Outside. The discipline you admire? Outside. The opportunities you say you're waiting for? Also outside. Your comfort zone has never offered you anything except short-term relief and long-term regret. Take a moment and be honest. How many times have you backed away from something just because it made you nervous? How many opportunities did you turn down because you didn't feel ready? How many goals did you quietly bury because the process felt too overwhelming? How many times did you choose the easy route over the right one? Every one of those decisions wasn't just a missed opportunity. It was you reinforcing a dangerous pattern, protecting your comfort instead of expanding your capacity. Comfort convinces you that you're safe, but you're not safe, you're stuck. There's a big difference. Comfort keeps you in loops. You repeat the same days, the same mistakes, the same excuses. You wake up, scroll, work, eat, distract yourself, sleep, repeat, and somehow you still expect your life to change, as if something magical will happen without you ever stepping into discomfort. You already know it won't. Deep down, you've always known. You just chose not to confront it. And this is where comfort becomes the real enemy. It disguises itself as self-care, taking a break, or not putting too much pressure on yourself. But at some point, you need to stop pretending that staying comfortable is helping you. Most of the time, it's just fear wearing a mask. Fear of failing. Fear of looking stupid. Fear of being judged. Fear of trying and realizing you're not as capable as you hoped. Comfort protects you from all of that, but it also protects you from growth, success, self-respect, and a better life. That's a terrible trade. When you look at people you admire, the ones who transformed their lives, built something meaningful, created discipline, improved their health, or developed real skills, none of them did it from the comfort of their old identity. They stepped into discomfort repeatedly. They felt awkward, insecure, unprepared, and exposed, and they did it anyway. Why? Because they understood something you need to understand right now. Discomfort is the price of progress. There's no alternative. There's no shortcut. There's no cheat code. Growth requires friction. You must stretch beyond what feels normal. You must step into situations where you don't feel fully in control. That's how you learn, adapt, and evolve. Think back to every major improvement you've ever experienced in your life. Every single one started with discomfort. First day at a new job, first time learning a skill, first time going to the gym, first difficult conversation you didn't want to have. Every one of those moments pushed you, challenged you, and forced you to level up. You didn't grow because you were comfortable. You grew because you weren't. So why do you keep running back to comfort as if it's saving you? It isn't. It's limiting you. You need to start seeing discomfort differently. Right now, your mind associates it with danger, embarrassment, or pain. But discomfort isn't a threat. It's a signal. It's the indicator that you're moving in the right direction. The direction that leads somewhere new, somewhere better. You should be more afraid of staying comfortable than stepping outside of it. Because staying comfortable means staying the same. And if you're being honest, the same is exactly what you're trying to break away from. It's time to challenge the belief that comfort equals happiness. Comfort doesn't create happiness, it creates stagnation. And stagnation eventually turns into frustration, disappointment, and self-loathing. You know that feeling, the nagging sense that you should be doing more, becoming more, experiencing more. That feeling won't go away until you do something about it. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's your teacher. It's the gym where your character gets stronger. It's the environment where discipline is built. It's the friction that shapes you into someone more capable than before. And here's the key. Stepping out of your comfort zone doesn't always mean doing something extreme. It doesn't mean jumping out of a plane or quitting your job overnight. It means doing something slightly harder than what you're used to, something unfamiliar, something that challenges you instead of pacifying you. It could be waking up earlier than usual, going to the gym even when you don't feel like it, starting a project you have been putting off, having the honest conversation you've been avoiding, saying no to something you usually cave to, or simply showing up consistently when you'd rather check out. You don't need massive leaps, you need consistent steps, and every step outside your comfort zone expands it. What used to feel intimidating slowly becomes normal. What used to feel overwhelming becomes manageable. You level up without even realizing it. But it starts with a decision. Stop protecting your comfort. Stop worshipping it. Stop treating it like it's sacred. Your comfort zone is not your home. It's the cage you've accepted as home. The life you want demands more from you than comfort ever will. So from this point forward, whenever something feels uncomfortable, don't run from it. Recognize it. Lean toward it. Let it stretch you. Let it challenge you. Let it refine you. Because comfort keeps you the same, and discomfort creates the new you. Chapter 4. The people around you shape your ceiling. Look at the people you spend the most time with, not the people you follow online, not the people you admire from a distance. The real people in your daily orbit, the ones you text, hang out with, listen to, laugh with, complain with, and absorb energy from without even noticing. Whether you want to admit it or not, those people shape your standards. They influence your habits. They set the ceiling for your growth. And they decide, quietly and consistently, how high or how low you allow yourself to climb. You might think you're independent. You might think you make your own decisions, follow your own path, and resist outside influence. But that's just another comforting lie. Human beings are social creatures, and we adapt to the environment we're in, even when we swear we're above it. You absorb the energy, expectations, and behavior of the people around you, the same way your clothes absorb the smell of the room you're standing in. If you surround yourself with people who avoid responsibility, complain about everything, blame everyone else for their circumstances, and never try to improve themselves, it's only a matter of time before you start lowering your standards to match theirs. Even if you don't consciously agree with them, you become comfortable around their level of effort. And comfort, like we talked about in the last chapter, is the enemy of growth. Most of the time, it's not the loud, toxic people who drag you down. It's the subtle ones. The ones who aren't doing anything with their lives but don't explicitly discourage you. They just normalize stagnation. They normalize low effort. They normalize average. And because they never challenge you, you start thinking your current behavior is acceptable. They gently and silently anchor you to your old self. And here's the harsh part. Sometimes the people holding you back are the ones you care about most. Family, childhood friends, long-term companions, the people who love you but don't understand where you're trying to go. They're not bad people. They're not intentionally sabotaging you. They simply operate on different expectations. Their version of normal doesn't match the person you're trying to become. You can't build a better version of yourself while staying loyal to a circle that's committed to staying the same. It doesn't matter how strong your mindset is, your environment always wins. Even the most disciplined person struggles when surrounded by low standards. And even people with zero self-discipline start leveling up when they are consistently surrounded by high standards. That's why you need to audit your circle with brutal honesty. Who pushes you to be better, not by shaming you, but by living better themselves? Who challenges your excuses? Who makes you rethink your habits? Who inspires you simply by existing at a higher level? Who drains you? Who keeps you stuck? Who pulls you back to old habits you're trying to escape? You probably already know the answers. Your gut knew before your mind admitted it. You just haven't acted on it because it's uncomfortable. Distancing yourself from people feels harsh. Setting boundaries feels cold. Outgrowing your circle feels disloyal. But let's be clear, loyalty to people who limit your growth is self-betrayal. You're not responsible for staying small so others don't feel insecure. You don't owe anyone your stagnation. And before you assume this means cutting everyone off and becoming some lone wolf with no friends, relax. That's not the point. The point is that you need a circle that reflects your desired identity, not your outdated one. You need people whose presence naturally elevates you. You need conversations that spark ambition, not justify excuses. Here's something you might not want to hear: the difference between who you are and who you want to be is often just the difference between your current circle and the circle you should be in. Think about the last time you spent time with someone who has high standards. Maybe it was someone with strong discipline, strong values, strong work ethic, or strong ambition. How did you feel afterward? More focused? More energized? More inspired? More aware of your own potential? That's the power of proximity. Now think about the opposite. Think about the person who drags every conversation into negativity, gossip, or complaining. Think about the person who celebrates your bad habits because it makes them feel better about their own. Think about the friend who always encourages you to take it easy, skip it just this once, or don't be so serious. How do you feel after spending time with them? Drained? Distracted? Less committed to your goals? You become the emotional and mental average of the people you're closest to. If you hang around 4 unfocused people, you'll become the 5th. If you hang around 5 disciplined people, you'll also become the 6th. That's just how humans work. The key is not to judge people, it's to judge their influence. You can still love people and create distance. You can still care about them without allowing them to shape your standards. You can still be supportive without adopting their habits. Not everyone deserves equal access to your life, especially when you're trying to build a new version of yourself. This chapter isn't just about removing people, it's about replacing the energy around you with something that aligns with your direction. Find people who are working on themselves. People who are ambitious. People who don't tolerate excuses. People who aren't threatened by growth. People whose presence raises your expectations about your own life. A powerful environment doesn't make your journey easy, but it makes it possible. And a weak environment doesn't make your journey impossible, but it makes it exhausting. If you want to rise, stop surrounding yourself with anchors. Start surrounding yourself with lifters. Choose people who reflect the future you want, not the past you're trying to escape. Your environment will shape you, whether you resist it or not. The only question is, are you choosing an environment that expands you or one that limits you? Because the new you can't grow in the same circle that built the old you. Chapter 5. Your habits decide who you become. People love to talk about their goals. They love to romanticize the future version of themselves, stronger, richer, healthier, more disciplined, more confident, more successful. But here's the uncomfortable truth most people refuse to swallow. You don't become that future version through wishful thinking. You become that version through your habits. Your habits are the real architects of your life. They decide your direction long before you notice the results. Everyone has habits. Some are helpful, some are destructive, and most are automatic. The problem is, people spend so much time fantasizing about who they want to become, and almost no time examining what they actually do day after day. They set big goals, but run their lives on routines that pull them in the opposite direction. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you sink to the level of your habits. It doesn't matter if you want to be disciplined if you keep practicing inconsistency. It doesn't matter if you want to be healthy if every day you choose convenience over care. It doesn't matter if you want success while your daily habits belong to someone who settles. Your habits reveal the truth about your priorities, not your words, not your intentions, not your dreams, your habits. If your goal is to write a book but you never sit down to write, then your goal is just a fantasy. If your goal is to get in shape but your habits reflect comfort and avoidance, then your body will always stay exactly as it is. If your goal is financial freedom but you spend impulsively, your finances will continue to choke you. Your habits are the daily votes you cast for the person you want to become. Every action is a tiny yes or a tiny no. Over time, those yeses and nos pile up, and eventually they define you. Most people overestimate the power of a big moment and underestimate the power of repeated moments. They believe transformation comes from a huge effort, a dramatic shift, or a life-changing event. But real transformation rarely starts with fireworks. It starts with repetition, quiet, unremarkable, consistent repetition. The person you admire, the disciplined, confident, capable version of yourself, wasn't built in a single moment of motivation. They were built through hundreds of days where they did the right thing even when they didn't feel like it. Days when they practiced discipline instead of excuses. Days when they honored their future self instead of indulging their current feelings. And this is exactly where most people fail. They keep waiting to feel ready before they take action. They want their habits to feel easy and natural right away. They want change without the awkwardness of learning something new. They want growth without discomfort. But habits don't become easy until you do them consistently. They don't feel natural until you've done them hundreds of times. You don't feel like it until you've proved to yourself that you're someone who follows through. You don't wait for the habit to feel good. You make it feel good by sticking to it long enough for it to become part of who you are. Think about the habits you practice right now. Think about the things you do automatically, checking your phone the moment you wake up, avoiding hard tasks, eating when you're stressed, procrastinating when you're overwhelmed, distracting yourself when something feels uncomfortable. Now be brutally honest. Are these habits shaping the person you want to become? Or are they shaping the exact person you're trying to break away from? People love to say, "I'll change when my life gets better." No, you'll change when your habits get better. Your habits are the foundation. Your life is the outcome. You can't build a skyscraper with a foundation meant for a shed. You can't build a strong identity on weak daily choices. Here's the good news. Habits aren't fate. You're not stuck with the routines you have. You created your habits through repetition, and the same way you built them, you can rebuild them, but it doesn't happen overnight. You don't need to overhaul your entire life at once. Start with one habit. Just one. One small, specific habit that aligns with the person you want to become. Something small enough that you can't make an excuse not to do it. Something consistent enough to build momentum. 5 minutes of reading. 10 minutes of exercise. One cleaner meal a day. A daily to-do list. A set bedtime. A morning routine that isn't stat chaos. A simple budget you actually follow. It doesn't matter how small it is. What matters is that it's aligned. What matters is that it represents a vote for the future you're building. Once you master one habit, you add another, then another. Slowly, your identity shifts. You begin to trust yourself again. You start to feel more in control. You show yourself proof that you're capable of change. And here's something people underestimate. Habits are contagious. One solid habit naturally leads to others. When you build discipline in one area, you build it in others. When you start acting like someone who respects themselves, you start treating yourself like someone worth respecting. Habits create momentum, and momentum creates transformation. But none of this works unless you accept that your life right now, your results, your identity, your direction, is a reflection of your habits. If you hate your results, don't hate yourself. Fix your habits. Change what you repeatedly do. Align your daily actions with your long-term vision. Your habits quietly build your character. They shape your self-image. They create your future, and they decide who you become far more than your dreams ever will. You want a new life. Build new habits. You want a new identity. Build habits that match it. Because in the end, you don't become what you want. You become what you repeat. Chapter 6. Your past isn't a life sentence. Your past is a story, not a prison. But most people live like their past has them locked up, chained down, and permanently stamped with limitations they can never outgrow. They drag old mistakes, old failures, old pain, and old identities into every new chapter of their life. Not because they have to, but because it feels familiar. Because it feels safer to identify with what they've already survived than to step into a future that demands something new from them. Here's the truth. Your past shaped you, but it does not define you unless you insist on carrying it everywhere you go. The only thing your past determines is where you started, not where you're required to end up. But most people cling to their past because it gives them a built-in excuse. If you tell yourself, "This is just who I am," or "This is how things have always been for me," then you never have to try. You never have to risk failing. You never have to confront the reality that your future is in your hands, not in your history. Your past becomes a shield you hide behind instead of a lesson you grow from. Think about how many times you used your past like a license to stay stuck. You point to old experiences and say things like, "This is why I don't trust people. This is why I don't try new things. This is why I sit not confident. This is why I procrastinate. This is why I can change." You treat your past like a justification for your present behavior, even when that behavior is destroying your life. But here's the brutal truth. Your past is not the real problem. Your attachment to it is. Every time you replay an old failure, you reinforce the belief that you're destined to repeat it. Every time you relive old pain, you give it power over your current decisions. Every time you let an old identity dictate your behavior, you become a prisoner of a version of yourself that no longer exists. You've outgrown the situations that hurt you, but you haven't outgrown the story you tell about them. Your past is supposed to be reference material, not a script you keep reading from. It's there to teach you, not trap you. The lessons are useful, the self-punishment is not. And let's be honest, some of the worst patterns in your life right now didn't come from trauma. They came from laziness, fear, and avoidance. Blaming your past is just an easier narrative. It feels better to say, "This is just how I am because of what happened," than to say, "This is how I am because I haven't done the work yet." You can't control what happened to you, but you are 100% responsible for what you do next. Responsibility doesn't mean blame, it means power. It means you get to choose how the rest of your story unfolds. You can't rewrite the first chapters, but you are the only one who decides how the story ends. Maybe your past made you insecure. Maybe it made you hesitant. Maybe it made you doubtful, anxious, angry, or afraid. Fine. That's real. That's human. But you're not meant to stay there. You're not meant to treat the earlier version of yourself as if it's the final version. The person you were at your lowest point shouldn't be the one steering your life now. Stop staying loyal to a version of you that was just trying to survive. You're not that person anymore. You might still have the scars, but the wounds are healed. The damage was done, but the chapter is over. You don't owe your past any more of your future. At some point, you need to accept that your past was the season that shaped you, not the season meant to define you forever. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to become someone new. You're allowed to walk away from beliefs and behaviors that were once necessary but are now suffocating. You don't have to stay small because you were small. You don't have to stay quiet because you were ignored. You don't have to stay broken because you were hurt. You don't have to stay weak because you once had no strength. Your past is evidence of what you've overcome, not evidence of what you're limited to. Here's something most people never realize. The story you tell about your past matters more than the past itself. Two people can live through the same hardship. One becomes stronger because of it, the other becomes bitter. The difference, the meaning they assign to the experience. If you treat your past like a life sentence, you'll live like a prisoner. If you treat it like a lesson, you'll live like a survivor. And if you treat it like training, you'll live like someone powerful. You get to choose the interpretation. And here's the part where you need to be brutally honest with yourself. Holding on to your past gives you nothing except a familiar misery. It doesn't protect you. It doesn't prepare you. It doesn't empower you. It just keeps you rooted in a version of your identity that you should have buried long ago. Your life will change the moment you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What can I build from this?" That shift turns your past from a burden into a resource. You don't need to forget your past. You don't need to erase it or pretend it didn't happen. You just need to stop treating it like it has the authority to dictate your future. The new you can't grow if you keep dragging the old you everywhere you go. Right now, you have a choice. You can keep replaying the same old story, recycling the same limitations, and letting your past make decisions for you. Or you can take the pieces of your story, the painful ones, the embarrassing ones, the disappointing ones, and use them as the foundation for a better version of yourself. Your past is not a life sentence unless you choose to serve it. You can walk out of that mental prison any time you decide you're done living in it. The door isn't set locked. It never was. Chapter 7. Stop waiting for motivation to save you. Motivation is the most overrated concept in self-improvement. People worship it like it's some magical fuel that will finally make everything click. They keep waiting for the right moment, the perfect burst of energy, the sudden spark of inspiration that will push them into action. But here's the brutal truth. Motivation is unreliable, inconsistent, and weak. It shows up when life is easy and disappears the second things get difficult. If you're counting on motivation to change your life, you're basically planning to stay stuck. Motivation feels good. Sure, it gives you a temporary high, but it fades fast. It's like caffeine. You get a rush, then a crash, then you're back where you started, except now you're frustrated because you thought motivation would carry you. You thought it would be enough, but it never is. The real engine of change isn't motivation, it's momentum. Momentum is built on action, not big action, not heroic effort, just action. Any action taken consistently. Motivation makes you want to start. Momentum makes you keep going. Motivation is emotional. Momentum is mechanical. Once it's moving, it becomes harder to stop than to continue. That's why people who seem motivated all the time aren't actually motivated. They're consistent. They built habits that carry them forward, whether they feel like it or not. They don't rely on their mood. They rely on their systems. They understand that feelings are fickle, so they base their progress on something sturdier, showing up anyway. Waiting for motivation is procrastination disguised as planning. You know this. Think about the goals you've postponed, not because you didn't know what to do, but because you were waiting to feel ready. How many times did you say you'd start next Monday, next month, after your birthday, after the holidays, after things calm down, after you're less stressed, less tired, less busy? But let's be honest, you weren't waiting for the right time. You were waiting for the right feeling, and that feeling never came. You don't need motivation. You need a decision. A decision that you will act regardless of your mood. A decision that your future matters more than temporary comfort. A decision that you won't negotiate with your excuses anymore. Motivation might get you excited, but decisions change your life. Think about the people who go to the gym at 5 a.m. Do you honestly believe they wake up feeling pumped every day? No. Most days they don't want to get up. Most days they'd rather sleep. But they get up anyway. Not because they're superhuman, not because they have magical motivation, because they built momentum and refuse to break it. You need to stop expecting yourself to feel motivated and start expecting yourself to take action. And here's something most people won't admit. Motivation actually gets in the way. When you rely on it, you start believing that effort should feel good, that doing hard things should feel inspiring, that growth should be emotionally satisfying, that discomfort should come with encouraging background music. But real growth feels nothing like that. Growth is uncomfortable. Growth is inconvenient. Growth is repetitive. Growth is sometimes boring. Growth often feels like a chore. Growth happens on the days when motivation is dead, but you show up anyway. If you want to build the life you keep dreaming about, you need to stop treating motivation like a requirement. It's a bonus at best, a distraction at worst. So what's the alternative? How do you actually build momentum? You start small, smaller than you think, ridiculously small. Not a full workout, just 10 minutes. Not a full chapter, just 1 page. Not a full cleanup, just the desk. Not a full routine, just 1 habit. People fail because they make their starting point too big. They want dramatic change overnight. They want the whole transformation in 1 move, but momentum doesn't work like that. It grows gradually, it builds quietly, it compounds. Small steps repeated consistently are more powerful than massive steps repeated occasionally. Momentum doesn't care how small the action is. It just cares that it happened. And once you do something today, it becomes easier to do something tomorrow. Action creates energy. Energy creates confidence. Confidence creates repetition. Repetition builds identity. But it starts with one thing: action without motivation. You need to show yourself proof that you can move even when you don't feel like it. That's how you build inner strength. That's how you build self-respect. Anyone can act when they're pumped full of excitement. But can you act when you feel like doing nothing? That's the skill that changes everything. And here's the irony. Once you stop relying on motivation, you actually start feeling more motivated, because motivation follows action, not the other way around. When you see progress, no matter how small, you start feeling capable. When you feel capable, you want to do more. When you do more, you build momentum. That momentum becomes motivation. Motivation is not the spark, it's the result. Once you understand this, you stop waiting for the perfect mood. You stop letting your emotions decide your life. You stop delaying your future because your present self feels lazy. Your mood is temporary, your future is permanent. If you want to become someone you respect, then you need to be the kind of person who acts without waiting for an emotional boost. Someone who understands that commitment beats motivation. Someone who knows that momentum is built, not gifted. Someone who chooses progress over comfort every day, even if the progress is tiny. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for inspiration. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Start moving. Start small. Start now. Your future depends on the actions you take when you least feel like taking them. That's where the new you begins. Chapter 8. Responsibility is freedom. Most people hear the word responsibility and instantly think of blame. They think responsibility means something is their fault, that they should feel guilty, ashamed, or embarrassed about their choices. But responsibility has nothing to do with guilt. Responsibility is about ownership. It's about stepping into the driver's seat of your own life, instead of acting like a passenger who just happens to be along for the ride. And here's the truth most people avoid: the moment you take responsibility is the moment you take back control. Responsibility isn't a burden, it's freedom. It's the liberation that comes from realizing that if you created part of your problem, then you also have the power to uncreate it. If your habits, patterns, and choices played a role in shaping where you are today, then new habits, new patterns, and new choices can take you somewhere completely different tomorrow. But people resist responsibility because it forces them to confront something uncomfortable. They are not victims of their circumstances. They are participants in them. It's a tough pill to swallow. It's easier to blame luck, timing, your past, your parents, your job, your partner, your environment, your stress, or life in general. Excuses feel comforting because they remove pressure. If it's not your fault, it's not your job to fix. But that mindset is a trap designed to keep you small. When you hand away responsibility, you hand away power. When you blame everything around you, you also give everything around you control over your future. Taking responsibility is not about beating yourself up. It's about admitting the truth. Your life is influenced by things you cannot control, but built by things you can. You can't control the past, but you can control your reactions. You can't control what people think, but you can control how you show up. You can't control random events, but you can control your habits. You can't control the outcome, but you can control the effort. That's responsibility. That's power. That's where your freedom begins. The moment you stop blaming external factors, your excuses collapse. And when your excuses collapse, you're left with the truth. If you want better, you have to do better. If you want change, you have to act differently. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to do the work for you. No one is responsible for your growth except you. This realization can feel heavy at first, but once you accept it fully, it becomes the most empowering shift of your life. Because if no one else is responsible for your change, then no one can stop you from changing either. People misunderstand responsibility because they confuse it with control. Responsibility is not pretending you can micromanage everything. It's understanding what belongs to you and what doesn't. Your effort belongs to you. Your standards belong to you. Your decisions belong to you. Your reactions belong to you. And here's the harsh reality: your results belong to you too. If your life feels like it's stuck on repeat, it's not bad luck. It's patterns you participate in, patterns you reinforce, patterns you avoid changing because changing them requires effort, discomfort, and consistency. But patterns only continue as long as you allow them to. The moment you take responsibility for them, you gain the ability to break them. Responsibility also means being honest about how you've been holding yourself back. How many times did you sabotage opportunities because you were afraid? How many times did you procrastinate something important? How many times did you choose immediate comfort over long-term growth? How many times did you stay silent when you should have spoken up, stayed still when you should have moved, or stayed in situations you knew were beneath you? These moments don't make you a failure. They make you human. But refusing to take responsibility for them keeps you stuck in the same loops indefinitely. Responsibility is not self-blame, it's self-awareness. And self-awareness is the foundation for change. When you take responsibility, you stop saying things like "this always happens to me," and start saying "I allowed this," or "I didn't set boundaries," or "I didn't prepare the way I should have." That shift feels uncomfortable, but it is the birthplace of growth, because you can't improve anything you refuse to acknowledge. Blaming others protects your ego, but accountability protects your future. Once you embrace responsibility, everything changes. You stop being reactive. Instead of responding to life defensively, you respond strategically. Instead of waiting for things to improve, you build the improvement yourself. Instead of hoping things get better, you make better choices, better plans, and better commitments. Responsibility gives you direction. When you know something is in your hands, you naturally start thinking differently. You start planning differently. You start valuing your time differently. You start associating with different people. You start treating your life like something you're actively shaping, instead of something happening to you. And here's the most liberating part. Once you take responsibility for everything that's within your control, you no longer get crushed by what isn't. People without responsibility crumble under pressure. They feel helpless at the first sign of difficulty. But people who own their actions, their path, their standards, they remain steady, because even when life throws chaos at them, they know they have the tools to adapt. They know they have the strength to respond. They know that difficulty is temporary, but their ownership is permanent. Responsibility builds resilience. It builds confidence. It builds inner strength. When you consistently take ownership, you begin to trust yourself. You start believing you're capable of handling challenges because you've proven it. That self-trust becomes the foundation of a powerful identity. There will always be things outside your control. Always. But those things are not what determine your destiny. What determines your destiny is how you respond, how you adapt, and how you rise. That is responsibility. That is freedom. Your life is yours. Your choices are yours. Your future is yours. Once you take responsibility for everything within your control, you unlock the freedom to build the version of yourself you've always wanted to be. And no one, not your past, not your circumstances, not your excuses, can take that away from you. Chapter 9. Identity is a choice, not a destiny. Most people talk about identity like it's something they discover, like it's hidden somewhere deep inside them, waiting to be found. As if their personality, their habits, their limits, and their confidence are some unchangeable traits stamped into them at birth. That mindset is dangerous because it turns identity into a cage, one you lock yourself inside without realizing you hold the key. The truth is this: identity is not discovered. Identity is built, brick by brick, choice by choice, action by action. The person you believe yourself to be right now is nothing more than the story you've repeated the most. If you tell yourself you're lazy, you'll act lazy. If you tell yourself you're unlucky, you'll stop trying. If you tell yourself you're shy, you'll avoid speaking. If you tell yourself you're broken, you'll search for evidence that it's true. Identity is self-fulfilling because your brain always tries to prove itself right. Most people are not limited by their abilities. They're limited by their identity. They cling to old versions of themselves because changing feels like betrayal. They remain loyal to outdated narratives because it's easier to stay comfortable in a familiar identity than to build a new one from scratch. But let's be brutally honest, the identity you're clinging to is not destiny. It's a decision. A decision you made through repetition, not truth. You repeat certain behaviors, certain stories, certain patterns, and they become your identity simply because you've never challenged them. Identity isn't fate. It's practice. Look at your life right now. Look at your habits, your confidence, your discipline, your fears, your strengths, your weaknesses. All of it is the result of one thing: what you repeated, not what you were born with. What you practiced, intentionally or unintentionally. You weren't born procrastinating. You practiced procrastinating. You weren't born unconfident. You practiced doubting yourself. You weren't born undisciplined. You practiced avoiding discomfort. And the best part? You can practice something new. You can build new skills, new habits, new reactions, new standards, and eventually an entirely new identity. Identity is a choice, but most people don't make that choice consciously. They let their past dictate their identity. They let opinions shape it. They let fear define it. They let failures freeze it. They let mistakes tattoo it onto them as if it can't be rewritten. You need to understand this: who you were is irrelevant to who you can become. Your identity is not a life sentence unless you treat it like one. Ask yourself, why are you still acting like the old version of you deserves that much loyalty? You've grown, you've learned, you've suffered, you've survived things you used to think would break you. You've had experiences that should have rewritten you, but you stayed attached to your old identity out of habit, not truth. Identity becomes dangerous when you cling to a version of yourself you've already outgrown. If you want to become someone new, someone stronger, sharper, more confident, more disciplined, you're going to have to break your attachment to the outdated you that keeps holding you back. The question you should be asking is not, who am I? The question is, who am I becoming? Because identity isn't built in a day, it's built every day. Every choice you make is a vote. Each action is a ballot cast for the person you're turning into. You don't need perfection, you need votes. You need repetition. If you work out today, you cast a vote for being an athletic person. If you read today, you cast a vote for being a smart person. If you show up on time, you cast a vote for being a responsible person. If you speak up, you cast a vote for being a confident person. You're not reinventing yourself in one giant leap. You're becoming someone new through small, decisive actions, stacked over time, until eventually the old you fades and the new you becomes the default. Identity is not something you affirm, it's something you prove to yourself. But here's the problem: most people try to skip the proving part. They want to feel like a new person before they act like one. They wait for confidence before taking action. They wait for clarity before deciding. They wait for certainty before trying. But confidence doesn't come first. Action does. Clarity doesn't come first. Movement does. Certainty doesn't come first. Courage does. You don't change your identity by thinking differently. You change your identity by behaving differently. The behavior comes before the belief, not after. You become confident by doing the things confident people do. You become disciplined by doing the things disciplined people do. You become resilient by doing the things resilient people do. Identity grows from evidence, not intentions. And yes, the beginning feels fake. It feels forced. It feels uncomfortable. You'll feel like you're pretending, but you're not pretending, you're practicing. Every skill feels foreign at first. Every identity feels unfamiliar before it becomes natural. That's how growth works. You don't fake it till you make it. You practice it until it becomes you. If you want a new identity, stop acting like the old one. Stop saying that's just how I am. No, that's who you trained yourself to be. Stop saying that's my personality. No, that's your pattern. Stop saying I've always been like this, then stop practicing being like that. You are not obligated to stay loyal to your past self. The world won't change until you do, but you can't change by clinging to the identity that created your current situation. Growth requires letting go of version 1.0 so you can build version 2.0 on purpose, with intention, with consistent action. Identity is your most powerful tool. It determines how you think, how you behave, how you respond, and what standards you accept. If you believe you set are capable, you act capable. If you believe you set helpless, you act helpless. If you believe you're disciplined, you behave with discipline. If you believe you're broken, everything you do will reinforce it. Your identity shapes your behavior, and your behavior shapes your life. So ask yourself honestly, who are you choosing to be? What identity are you reinforcing? Are your daily actions aligned with the person you say you want to become? Are your habits building the new you or feeding the old you? Your identity is not destiny. It's a daily decision, a daily practice, a daily construction. And every single day you get to pick who you are becoming next. The new you isn't discovered. The new you is built by you. Starting now. Chapter 10. The new you starts when you stop negotiating. Most people don't fail because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. They fail because they negotiate with themselves. They treat their goals like optional suggestions. They make promises at night and break them in the morning. They say, "I'll do it later," even though later has never once saved them. They give themselves escape routes, excuses, and backup plans that make quitting easy and following through difficult. The uncomfortable truth is this: your transformation will not begin until you stop negotiating with the weak parts of yourself. The parts that want comfort, the parts that want shortcuts, The parts that want the reward without the effort. The parts that want the outcome but refuse to do the work consistently. Negotiation is the silent killer of progress. It sounds reasonable. It sounds logical. Your mind can justify anything. I'm tired today. I'll start tomorrow. I deserve a break. I've been working hard lately. That's not the right time. These little slips don't matter. At least I'm thinking about improving. You've said all of these. Everyone has. But here's the reality you've avoided. Every negotiation with your excuses is a vote for the old you. Every compromise is a step backward. Every moment you let your feelings overrule your commitments is another day your goals drift further out of reach. You cannot build a new life with the mindset that destroyed the old one. People treat self-negotiation like harmless conversation, but it's not harmless. It's sabotage disguised as self-care. It's procrastination disguised as listening to your body. It's fear disguised as being realistic. The internal negotiator sounds protective, but it's holding you back more than any external obstacle ever has. The version of you that you actually respect, the disciplined one, the consistent one, the focused one, that version does not negotiate. That version shows up regardless of mood, excuses, or convenience. That version understands something powerful. Every time you negotiate with yourself, you reinforce weakness. Every time you refuse to negotiate, you reinforce strength. Your feelings don't get a vote. Your excuses don't get a seat at the table. Your laziness doesn't get to argue. Your doubts don't get to decide. That is the mindset required to transform. Strength comes from standards, and standards only exist when they are non-negotiable. If you're serious about building a new identity, then you need lines you do not cross, rules you follow even when you don't feel like it, commitments so strong that they override your temporary emotions. Otherwise, you'll keep living the same loop, convincing yourself you're trying while getting nowhere. Think about how many times you've tried to change something in your life. You had ambition, you had clarity, you had desire, but what did you lack? Non-negotiable standards. You allowed yourself too much wiggle room. You let your old habits talk you out of the work. You waited for motivation. You let distractions win. You bargained with yourself until nothing happened. Here sets the harsh reality. If it sets negotiable, you do it consistently. If it serves optional, you prioritize it. If it sits not a rule, it will never become a habit. You need rules, your own rules. Rules that shape your identity. Rules that keep you aligned. Rules that protect your discipline from your feelings. Not rules created from guilt or shame, but rules created from commitment. A non-negotiable standard doesn't mean you become rigid or heartless. It means you become someone who honors their own word. Someone who treats their commitments as promises, not suggestions. Someone who trusts themselves because they don't fold the moment life becomes inconvenient. And yes, at the beginning you will resist this mindset. Your brain will rebel. Your emotions will push back. You'll feel the discomfort of going against your old patterns. You'll feel the friction of building discipline. You'll want to go back to the familiar life where everything was negotiable and nothing demanded effort. But that's exactly the point. Growth is supposed to feel like resistance. If it doesn't, you're not growing. The more you practice refusing negotiation, the more powerful you become. You start walking differently. You start thinking differently. You start acting like someone you respect. You start trusting your own discipline because you've proven it over and over again. And then something incredible happens. Saying no to your excuses becomes easier than saying yes to them. The new you becomes stronger than the old you. The habits become part of your identity, not tasks you have to force. What used to feel like discipline eventually becomes normal. What used to feel impossible becomes routine. You cross a line where you realize the truth. The new you isn't set created through motivation. The new you is instead created through inspiration. The new you is created through refusal. Refusal to negotiate. Refusal to quit. Refusal to settle. Refusal to let the old version of you win again. The old you relied on feelings. The new you relies on standards. The old you made excuses. The new you makes decisions. The old you negotiated everything. The new you protects your goals like their oxygen. Every time you choose discipline over negotiation, you're voting for the future you. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, you're carving the new identity deeper into your mind. Every time you refuse to break your standard, you build a strength that cannot be faked or skipped. The transformation happens long before the results show. The transformation happens the moment you draw a line and say, "This is not up for debate anymore." Your life changes the second you stop asking yourself, "Do I feel like it today?" and replace that question with, "Is this aligned with who I sip becoming?" That sips the turning point. That sips the shift. That sips the birth of the new you. The day you stop negotiating is the day you start transforming. The new you doesn't appear, it gets built. And the construction begins the moment the negotiations end. Becoming someone you actually respect isn't an accident, it's a choice you make every single day. Not once, not occasionally. Every day. And the truth is simple, most people will never make that choice. They'll keep waiting, they'll keep negotiating, they'll keep blaming, they'll keep repeating the same patterns because those patterns feel familiar even when they're miserable. But if you've made it this far, then you're not most people. You're someone who's ready to face yourself without excuses. You're someone who's tired of living beneath your potential. You're someone who's sick of carrying around the dead weight of an outdated identity. You're someone who wants a life that actually reflects their effort, their discipline, and their standards, not their fears. So here's the final truth. Nobody is going to build the new you for you. Nobody is coming to push you, save you, rescue you, or drag you into the life you know you're capable of living. This entire journey comes down to one thing: your choices. Your habits are your responsibility. Your standards are your responsibility. Your identity is your responsibility. Your future is your responsibility. And the moment you accept all of that without flinching, you become unstoppable. Because now you're not waiting for a mood or a miracle or a perfect moment. Now you're acting with intention. Now you're designing your life instead of drifting through it. Now you're choosing who you're becoming instead of repeating who you've been. Your past has no authority over you anymore. Your excuses don't run the show. Your doubts don't get a vote. The old version of you, the one you've been trying to outgrow, only survives if you keep feeding it. So stop feeding it. Feed your discipline. Feed your momentum. Feed your identity. Feed the person you want to be, not the person you're trying to leave behind. You know exactly what needs to change. You know the habits that need to go, the standards that need to rise, the excuses that need to die. You know what the new you requires. Now the question is whether you're going to do it. The door is open. The path is clear. The work is yours. The future is yours. Respect is instead given. It's earned. Identity isn't discovered, it's built. A new you is found. It's sets created. And starting right now, you're either becoming that person or you're betraying them. It's your move.